On the last thrilling adventure of the Ready Room, our heroes discuss the classic adventure, Balance of Terror, and when we last left them, the Unready Room was in flames. Let's join them again. Anybody remember that? I don't think we were in flames. I don't remember that, but
no, they always make it so much more dramatic than it was.
Yeah, these recaps.
Actually, I mean, that didn't happen in the last episode.
That's crazy. Well, it brought the people back, apparently, so.
It did indeed. It did indeed.
I see one of us in the theme of the episode has made himself monochromatic, so...
that is correct.
I'm trying to figure out how to do that on my thingy. I'm finding the setting, and it's quite vexing.
I'm just figuring out how you can do color. That's just incredible. I wish I could do that.
And now, I mean, you would think that there would be a setting just for the camera, right?
It's like the Wizard of Oz. It's got color, Technicolor, and I'm still in black and white. How do I fix this? How do I do that? I want to be in color pictures. If it can just happen now. But not. No, I am not feeling well, Oztrekkie.
Well, if you haven't already figured it out from the title and from Bruce's appearance here, we are discussing the Voyager episode, Bride of Chaotica, Season 5, Episode 12. And this is, of course, the culmination of Tom Paris's Captain Proton holodeck story. And the minute that it was introduced in the episode night, you knew they were going to center an episode around it at some point. And the result is Bride of Chaotica. And I feel like this is going to be a really fun discussion because, and I haven't talked to Brandi about this yet, but I know that two of us here have differing opinions on this episode. So I think this is going to be a really fun, interesting discussion. So Brandi, just out of curiosity, how do you feel overall about Bride of Chaotica right off the start here?
It is so silly, but I love it. It's just dumb. It's dumb, but there are so many moments that just made me laugh out loud or smile or just feel warm fuzzies that it's fluff. It's ridiculous. It means nothing, but it's so entertaining to me.
Excellent. Yeah, that's how I feel about it as well. Interestingly enough, when I first watched it, when I was younger, I did not like it at all. I was just like, oh, this is so boring. I'm not into this at all. Every time I've rewatched it since, I love it. I just absolutely love it. So yeah, lots of fun. Bruce, what are your thoughts?
It's not silly or funny enough for me. I just don't think it. I mean, it's lightly humorous for me, but like well, we'll get into it more what I thought about some of the story elements and things, but overall it's just kind of like anytime Captain Proton comes on, I'm always just like, oh, yeah, it just doesn't really work for me. I do find it a bit boring. I think if it was played even more over the top or just had funnier lines or something, maybe I'd like it, but it just doesn't really do much for me.
Okay, fair enough. So yeah, we'll get into it. So at the beginning, of course, we start with the Adventures of Captain Proton title screen and launch right into the last week that we kind of parodied at the front of this show. And Paris and Kim are reenacting some adventure of Captain Proton, which, we learn in a later episode, Paris wrote the Captain Proton adventures. So this isn't just something that he's like, taken out of the database and is playing with. He's the writer of these adventures too, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, it is. It's honest. Well, it's obviously, he said so more than once, an homage to old serials that they used to run before movies in the 30s and 40s. And I actually grew up watching those, Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers, not the Gil Gerard Buck Rogers, but the original black and white Buck Rogers. And especially when you watch Flash Gordon, you really come to realize how many names George Lucas stole from it. There are so many, you guys. So
Mm.
many.
Well, because that's originally what he wanted to do was Flash
Yeah.
Gordon, but he didn't get the rights to it. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, the Flash Gordon references here are just like so on the nose.
Yeah.
Intentionally so, obviously, but yeah, I'm loving, as someone who was not that familiar with Flash Gordon and those serials for a huge part of my life. I think that contributed to my kind of dislike of the episode early on, and then like as I kind of realized what they're parroting and what they're doing, as I became, I guess, more cultured in the ridiculous stuff that was Flash Gordon and other serials like that, it kind of got better for me. And I think one of the things about this episode that I really like, oddly enough, given how like in your face and over the top it is, I think my favorite thing about it are the subtleties of like the performances and stuff. Like there's, and we'll get into it as we go along. There's one scene in particular that I think like pay attention to the deep background and what's going on there, not what's necessarily happening right in front of the camera, and it pays off for sure. So yeah, in the real world of Voyager, they strike what they call a subspace sandbar. And when I was rewatching the episode earlier today, I was, they become stuck in space, and I was like, is this the one where they get caught on the subspace sandbar? Is that one? And yeah, it turns out to be that. I love their ability to just distill stuff down into a simple metaphor for something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's such a Star Trek thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It gets you to understand what really is going on if you simplify it for us dumb people.
Yeah. Well, back in the day, before there were talk of sandbars, it used to be more of a caught in the doldrums thing, because when you were at sea and you were stuck in a place where there was literally no wind and no waves, that was what they called the doldrums. And you could die there. You could die there.
Wow.
Because if you're surrounded by nothing but ocean and you have a limited supply of food and clean water, you are going to die on that ship if you can't get out of there.
Becalmed, I think, was what they referred to a ship that was in that situation. There's just no wind, nothing to propel it. Absolutely.
Rime of the Ancient Mariner, all about that.
Nice.
And an albatross, but but that's where the saying "water, water everywhere, and not a drop to drink," that comes from the Rime of the Ancient Mariner.
Very cool.
Because I know 16 stanzas of it that I cannot forget, that have been with me since 9th grade English class.
Wow. Wait, which show is this? I didn't know I was supposed to read like Treasure Island or something.
It's not a show. It's a poem called The Rime of the Ancient Mariner.
No, I'm talking about this show. This isn't Star Trek we're talking about, so I have no idea. I can't contribute to what you're talking about.
All connected. It's all connected.
I don't know what this is about.
I'm enjoying this. This is great.
I want my mommy.
Well, we'll get back to Voyager then.
Oh, wait, I'm small. Oh.
So yeah, they're stuck. They're stuck for some reason, and they find out it's like this area where the barrier between space and subspace is kind of weak, and they're stuck on a section of subspace. Sure, okay, we'll go with it. The technobabbly, that works, whatever. But interestingly enough, on the holodeck, they make contact with these strange people. Well, they appear in the holodeck, I guess. And I'm going to bring up that picture here. For some reason, it's not working as well right now. There we go. These guys. Yeah. So the visiting photonic life forms. And I'm going back to when I first saw this, when it first aired, and I was like, this is dumb. Like photonic life forms that show up in like 30s suits and fedoras, like what's going on here? But I've since changed my opinion, but I'm curious what you guys thought of these guys.
The first thing I said, I haven't seen this episode since it originally aired. And so I turned to Dave and I said, I don't remember this very well, but I think that those guys are aliens.
Yeah, I mean, I know I saw it when it originally aired. I may have seen it one other time, I think, since then, but it's been a long time. Yeah, I knew they were aliens, and it didn't bother me the first time I saw this episode. I like this idea. I like when we get further in the episode, it's discovered more that, we're real, and they're not to us, but to them, we're not real, and the whole world of Captain Proton is real. So I kind of like that. That's one thing I really like about this.
Mm-hmm.
It's a way of looking at things differently.
Yeah, I think when I was younger, I had this like narrow mindset of like, no, it's got to make sense. It's got to, I watched Star Trek. I expected it always to make sense. But
yeah.
Oh, Dan.
Right.
Oh,
but I always had this like view that like, they. And I still think when I watch this episode, I'm like, I think the Voyager crew should be a little bit more curious about these guys. And like, I like to think that after they got free, they're like, okay, let's do some scans and try and figure out where they came from and stuff. But, in the episode, of course, they're just trying to get through the crisis and stop them from being killed. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But, the more I think about it, the more I think of these aliens, especially when that one of them says like, we're explorers. And I was like, oh, they're like Captain Kirk and their crew dressing in the local dress and beaming down to investigate this strange new world they've found.
Yes.
And because Voyager's on this like crossroads between their realm and our realm, they're able to see this that they weren't able to see. And then my brain got into like, well, we know like the matter and stuff that we can detect and stuff makes up, they say, I think like 4% of the mass of the galaxy. So like, okay, so these guys are some of the rest of it. The mycelial network in Discovery is another part. All these other things we've seen in Star Trek are other parts. Okay, I can kind of work with that.
I was going to say something, but I have to sneeze.
Okay. Bless you.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Talk, Brandi. I'm still waiting for the sneeze.
Oh. Well, I'm like on the edge of my seat waiting for the sneeze.
Well, my excuse so he doesn't have to contribute.
My sneezes were more interesting than this episode. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. It's a joke.
Shots fired.
I'm kidding. No, so I saw a moment ago in the chat somebody mentioned piece of the action. And I just want to I'm sorry, I'm going off topic a little bit here, but these guys do look like, the fedoras and the suits, in the time frame. And that's what I like about piece of the action was we saw our crew kind of stumbling and feeling awkward in that time and just trying to fit in and sometimes overplaying it and sometimes not understanding something and they're out of their element. Same with like the voyage home. I wanted more of that in this, especially from Janeway and even the Doctor, who are not used to being in this program, to really just kind of doing the wrong things. And I mean, like when they say the Doctor, not that button, the other on the other panel, more of that is what I wanted from this.
Yeah. And I just, because I might forget to mention it later, I just love that. It's like, prepare to fire. And he's like, ready. Just love that.
He's like crouched over, just ready to push the button. By the way, I just wanted to say to CJ Hoover SD, by thy long gray beard and glittering eye, and wherefore stoppest thou me? We're going to recite the whole poem to each other in chunks. He started it.
I love it.
Okay.
Or she. It could be a she.
I don't remember Fizbin being in the Rime of the Ancient Mariner, but, maybe.
Yeah, no, to me, the whole premise of photonic beings actually works. And of course, they would live in subspace because we don't live in subspace. And honestly, how many species are there that don't live in our dimension but are parallel with us,
right, that
we have no idea that they exist? So it would make sense that they would have no frame of reference to judge us as a life form.
Yeah, Dan.
No, I agree completely now.
I didn't mean that argumentatively.
You can absolutely yell at young Dan. He was a stuck-up little jerk. No,
I'm talking about young Dan, who was so stuck up and like, this isn't serious enough for me.
It's true though. That was me. No, yeah, I totally I like that idea, and that's kind of why I'm like, I want there to be more implications of this. And I know that's not what the episode is about, but I'm like, the doctor must be like, oh, my people, right? Like making contact with other photonic life forms. Like, how cool would that be? Like naturally evolved photonic life forms. That's kind of cool.
They could have really played that up. That would have been interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to write a novel that takes place right after this,
Wait, do they? Did they? Or are you really suggesting that?
Not that I know of, but
because there is
a
Captain Pro. I know this has nothing to do with that. This episode we watched, but there's a Captain Proton novel?
There is, yes.
I've never
read it.
Yeah, me either.
I know Dayton Ward has said he always wanted to do a Captain Proton story, and I
would read it if he wrote it.
Not sure who wrote the Captain Proton novel.
I'm looking it up.
Excellent.
It's not like I don't think the Captain Proton novel that was written. I think it's an in-universe Captain Proton story. It's not like a Voyager novel where the crew's on the holodeck.
Okay, I've never read it, so that's
it's
cool.
written by Dean Wesley Smith.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Lawrence Todd points out that Fizbin shows up in the annotated edition of The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. So thank you for that.
Was he a guest star?
Yeah, he was a guest star in the poem.
Okay.
The card game was a guest star in the, yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And great point here. This is not one of those Trek episodes where I pay any attention to the science. You're not supposed to, like, really. And that was one of the things, like I said, when I was a kid, I was just too hung up on all that stuff and couldn't enjoy it.
There was a lot I didn't pay attention to.
This time around, though, I enjoyed the heck out of this episode. So, yeah, we get the Fortress of Doom, and these aliens, these aliens make contact, of course, with Dr. Chaotica, that's his name. And things don't necessarily go well because Chaotica, of course, is now the representative of our universe to these beings. So we can imagine how well that goes. So first of all, I want to call out like the set design and how they call out the set design in this episode as well.
I said that was very meta today.
So
when that
great.
happened.
And someone else mentioned it in the comments earlier too. I kind of missed back where it was, but yeah, how they comment that like, this is early on in the episode. Harry's like, where did you say we are? Oh, we're on this planet. Where were we last week? The mines of Mercury. They're identical.
Yeah.
While sets are expensive.
Yeah.
It's such a meta commentary on Star Trek for sure.
Yeah, I like those little things like that in here, which makes me wish that they would do an episode on the holodeck where they're on a TOS set. I think that'd be funny.
But they did a whole Deep Space Nine episode where they were on Kurt's Enterprise.
Yeah, like that.
What
like
more
I'd
do
like
you want?
That. No, I want more of that.
Oh, all right.
I want somebody going, ooh, look at these designs, 23rd century design.
Kind of got that in Relics as well on the Enterprise D holodeck, I thought. Yeah.
Oh, can I just say one of my favorite things about this episode is Janeway's insistence on coffee black.
Yes.
That was a great scene for sure.
Neelix is like, I'm afraid 2 more replicators have been coffee black.
And then she drinks it.
And he starts to talk to her again, and she's like, nope.
Coffee first.
And then she drinks her coffee.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your problem? I wish coffee affected me that way.
I'm still not a fan of coffee. I've never been a big fan of coffee. I love the smell of like freshly brewed coffee, but I've just never really drank coffee.
Yeah. I'm not a big coffee drinker.
I'm not either because it doesn't have any of the effects that it's supposed to on me. There's no energy, there's no caffeine high, it's just a beverage.
Well, it does affect me. I won't go into it, but I don't drink it that often because it wires me up pretty good.
I don't have that I don't have that effect. I wish there was something that could affect me that way, but without, affecting the problems with my heart murmur.
Oh.
No, actually, that's true. I do have a heart murmur, but
Well,
the
I
energy
forgot
drinks
that when I
just-
share
Yeah.
a comment in this mode, it totally
gotta
covers
be
Brandi up.
well, I just oh yeah. So
Right.
Dr. Chaotica, I think it would have been funny when Janeway was on the holodeck using the pheromones that he tried to get his way with her by presenting coffee, and she's, oh, coffee.
So I do want to call out the performances of these two. I mean, they really just go full for it. Especially the guy who plays Lonzak, who I meant to look up before we started this episode, but he's so great. Like so we're jumping all over the episode, whatever. When Janeway uncorks the pheromones and he's just like weeping with like how enraptured he is with her. I love this guy.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun, especially when they intercept Tom and Harry heading for the Fortress of Doom, and they're just like, "We don't have time for this. Excuse me," and they just pull out their ray guns and shoot him, and he's like,
Right.
like falling all over the place.
I like
It
that
was
that's
fun.
almost like the holodeck program's way of saying like, oh no, you're supposed to interact more with this character. Give it, and they're like, no, just keep shooting him.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Just make sure
definitely
they're
love
down.
that.
That was fun.
Another thing about this episode, and again, this is like the just over analyzing it thing, is I found myself trying to think a lot of like how the holodeck works. Like, okay,
Oh,
so
don't do that.
there's no extra dimensional aliens in this part of the Captain Proton story, so it's like improvising and having them react to it, and I was like, no, wait, that's not gonna go there. Because if it's a written thing, anyway, doesn't matter.
Chapter 18.
Yeah, that doesn't happen till chapter whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so let's talk about okay, hold on. Let's talk about the scene that's one of my absolute favorite scenes, just because of like the deadpan delivery and that stuff. And I'll put a screen cap from it up here, where they're kind of realizing that like, oh, this program's been running, these aliens are interacting with it. There's just something about the performance in this scene when Janeway's like, let me get this straight. Aliens from another dimension have entered the holodeck and are now being attacked by your holoprogram's army, Dr. Chaotica's army. Yes, ma'am. His army of doom. I love his like deadpan delivery here.
As if it's something serious. Like, we should all know this. This is important stuff.
Totally. Just, I mean, Tom obviously writes a lot of fan fiction in his spare time. And this is just one of those stories. Lord knows what else he's played on the holodeck. You know what I'm saying?
No,
What are you saying, Brandi? I don't understand.
I don't either.
I'm just saying there's a lot of fan fiction out there.
Oh.
And Tom probably wrote some of it.
Oh. Well, I was going to say, I'm comfortable with you talking about it because you won't see me blush in black and white.
Yeah.
Ah.
I'm not going to make anybody blush. It's fine.
Okay. All right. No, the thing about the Tom Paris character that irks me a little bit is he seems to be talented in everything. Like, he's this great pilot, and he can design a ship and build it himself, and he's practically a medical doctor. Like, he can do everything. It's kind of odd to me.
Yeah, it's not a problem as long as it's a male character.
Right.
Ah.
Right.
To be fair, the doctor complains about how bumbling he is in sickbay a lot. So I don't know if he could almost be a doctor, but
I know I'm exaggerating when I say that, but it's like he just seems like he can fit in every department. And,
Yeah.
But anyway,
It's a little much.
Yeah.
There we go. He's got so Aaron Harvey, thank you, got the exact line here. And now an armed conflict has broken out between these aliens and Chaotica's holographic army. Yes, ma'am. his army of evil. I don't know why. That line just tickles me. I love that line so much. Now, the best part of this scene, though, and I was saying, like, the subtleties are the best part of this episode, I think. Watch the background, and, like, especially Seven of Nine and Chakotay, and they keep looking at each other through this. And Seven of Nine, the look on her face when she looks back is just like, and Chakotay is always just, like, laughing. I love it.
There is an extreme amount of eye rolling in this episode, not only outside of the holodeck, but once Janeway's inside the holodeck, so much eye rolling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she is not impressed by a lot of this stuff.
She's probably like, I know Tom wrote this. Ugh. Gross.
Oh, she liked it. Yeah, the scene you're talking about there with Chakotay and Seven of Nine in the background. I know the 4:3 screen and everybody's close together, but like the whole time I was watching, I was just like, what an odd way to block those two. Like they're standing in the background so like close together. I was like, wait, they weren't dating yet. That's 2 seasons away, but it felt like they were kind of close and just like looking at each other and rolling the eyes, and I'm like, they just felt like they seemed closer than what they should be physically and emotionally.
And yeah, this is such and you really start to notice it when you watch a lot of older television before widescreen was the norm. One thing that I notice is two characters who are talking and the director doesn't want to do over the shoulder shot, reverse shot. They have to be so close when they're talking. It's ridiculous. And like, obviously the director wanted them in the background for this scene and stuff. So much of this 4:3 stuff looks so weird and unnatural now. Yeah. And we didn't notice it because that was the language of television at the time. But now they have more room to play with. And it just looks hilarious.
I would have liked it better if when they were rolling their eyes, if Seven would have just been looking at Chakotay like, could you
back off, dude.
Yeah, you're a little too close.
Definitely. And then we get the realization that someone has to play the role of Queen Arachnia, and Janeway is it.
She wants to be it. I know she does. She really secretly wants to do this.
See, yeah, I think maybe Kate Mulgrew does. I don't think Janeway does.
Yeah, I get that feeling as well.
Yeah.
She's the captain. She could have easily said, no, Tom, no. There are plenty of women on this ship that you can choose from to do this. Get B'Elanna to do it. Get somebody else to do it.
No one that could give a command performance like she could.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the commander of the ship.
Well, and Tom can do anything. He should have done the part.
Okay.
I would actually pay money to see that.
That I could get behind. Yeah, absolutely. But then Janeway, of course, we wouldn't get that great line that we were talking about in the chat before the episode started. I'm a size 4.
She ain't anymore.
Aw.
No, honestly, I'm sorry. That was mean.
Yeah.
The reason I said that is because when I watched it, and maybe I shouldn't even say this too, I thought if Kate Mulgrew was watching this episode, she'd probably turn to somebody and go, I wish I was still a size 4. I'm not saying that she's bigger, but as you age, your sizes typically go up. And then when you get older, your sizes go back down again. I'm waiting for me to get older so my size can go back down again.
Right.
He's gonna let Bruce dig himself out.
I have a pair of jeans from when I was 30 that I'm saving to see when I turn 70 or 80 I fit into again.
Yeah. Let me explain to you rubes in the room, to you the men, what it means to be a size 4. In the world of fashion, if you are bigger than a size 4, you are fat.
It's sad.
Size 4 is unrealistic. It's unattainable for most real people.
Mm-hmm.
And so this idea that your worth is judged by your size, unfortunately, seemed to carry over into the television of the time as well. We don't need to know she's a size 4.
I just love the line. I don't know. Her
No, you're
delivery
right.
just kills me.
No, I mean, she could have said a size 24. It doesn't matter. It's just the delivery.
She could have said, my measurements are on file.
I don't even think
it would be.
I don't even think she really was a size 4. More probably. I think that's just the line. But yeah. I mean, we're not here to talk about the size and stuff like that. But wait, what was I going to say to that?
Sorry.
Yeah.
It bothered me. I don't like the line. It bothered me because I'm just like, why are we bringing size into this?
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, but
if it was a male character, would they have said anything about size? I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have.
Probably not.
That's a really good point. Yeah,
probably not. But I will say that you're totally right. That's one of the problems with Hollywood. And the thing is, they were probably even trying to have Kate Mulgrew go on all kinds of diets and things like that, and all kinds of weight loss and all this stuff. And I mean, she's
even talked about that. Yeah.
Oh, has she? See, I wasn't even aware of that, but that doesn't surprise me because that's what they do, and it's so unnatural and unfair. But that's freaking Hollywood. But the camera, they say it makes you gain 10 pounds. So, but whatever, who cares?
Yeah,
See,
just look natural.
The thing for me, what it brought for me, it was like, I started wondering, like, does that system still exist? Which system are they using? I'm pretty sure American size 4 is different from British size 4. And I lived in Korea, and size 4 is definitely not American size 4 there. So like, that's where my brain started going. So I think it would have been funnier, maybe not funnier, but it would have, like Brandi said, maybe a better line if it was like, my measurements are on file, to be like, okay, I'm going to have to get into a ridiculous costume or something, which is how I took the line to be funny. But of course, I'm not from the perspective that would take that line very differently, because I don't have the background to know what all of that entails. So,
well, and another thing about it is that size doesn't equal shape. You can be a size 4 and have something fit you completely differently than another person who is a size 4, because it depends on what also size your waist is, what size the bust line is, what size the hips are. And so something may, be too tight in one place or too loose in one place. It's like, you can't just go by a size 4.
Right.
You would have to make it from her measurements,
and honestly,
not her size.
I mean, because I'm not a woman, I don't really even know what a size 4 really is. Anyway,
a teenage girl,
that's
a 12-year-old girl is a size 4.
Right.
So obviously, this is not what's meant in the real world when the episodes aired. However, in universe, we could think of it to say, well, like, Starfleet uniforms are have a bunch of different whatevers, and she's a woman's size 4 Starfleet uniform, whatever that is on the grid of Starfleet uniforms or something like that. So when Tom Paris goes to like replicate the thing, he's like, oh, maybe it's a different system altogether. That's in my brain anyway.
That's your head canon.
Yep,
size
absolutely.
4 is different in your head canon than it is naturally today what a size 4 is. Yeah. I don't even know what my size is. I know what my size of other but I don't know what my clothes size is.
Men never do.
Well,
it's true.
It depends what we're talking about when we say size, but that's a whole nother.
Seriously, like whenever Dave wants to order a shirt or something like that, he's like, what size do I need to get? Honey, it's always an extra large. Always. I
unfortunately always know what size my clothes are because it's fucking depressing every time. Excuse my language. Anyway.
Join the club.
I had no idea this topic was going to go on this long.
Sorry, I'll stop.
No, it's not your fault. I've been contributing. If anything, I've been digging the deep hole that we can't get out of.
He's come out the other side of the planet.
Okay, we will absolutely move on. I'm seeing comments imploring us to as well. So the result of all of this is this amazing costume that Janeway shows up in as Arachnia, and what an incredible costume this is. I have to say, I love her first reveal of it and the push in close up where she does the little haughty like head tilt thing. I love this. And from this moment on, I am absolutely in love with Kate Mulgrew's performance in this episode, which was, like I said, when I was younger, not always the case. I didn't like this episode. I thought it was ridiculous. But man, every time I rewatch this, I just get a bigger grin watching it.
Yeah. I mean, I like her performance, but again, I really wish it would have built up to this. Again, I and this is just my preference. If I were directing or whatever this episode, I would just like to have seen her feeling more uncomfortable with it. And even if like Tom or somebody came up to her and said, "You gotta really play the part," and her just like, ugh, and like really try, and then all of a sudden she really starts to get into it, and all of a sudden it's like, I think she's really starting to like this. You know, I just would have liked to see more of that, but she just naturally like walked into the role, and I mean, it was fine. I'm just saying I would have liked it worked a little differently. But I do love how she really played it up, and the head up, and how she was walking, and she was very much a commander in the role.
And those fingernails were ridiculous.
Yeah, that was something that I hadn't really noticed previously, but this time watching, I just, for whatever reason, really noticed them this time. That was incredible.
Yeah,
I didn't
those
even
things were
notice.
like 3 inches long, I swear. They were claws.
I didn't get a
Weapons
picture of
all
them.
on their own.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get rid of this just so I can bring up this comment and not cover up Brandi. The look on her face when Tom shows her the pad with the costume.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what
like-
I'm talking about, like the subtleties in this episode, because you're kind of looking at Tom because he's speaking, but Janeway's just like,
Yeah,
I love it.
because she just glances at it and then she goes, "What?" It's like, what is wrong with you, Mr. Paris?
She looked at Tom like, men. Yep, absolutely.
Like how Brandi looks at me. Like that.
Yes. Oh, that was brilliant. That was really good.
Thank you. I do have a little acting experience myself.
No, Bruce, I totally get your argument too of like, if wish there was like a slower build up to that, but like I feel like in the time they had, like there's definitely a genuine progression. Like at the start, she's totally out of her element, like the clever fiendishness of your brilliant plan, like she starts out that way, and then as it goes, she's totally getting into it as she's kind of figuring out the language and the what's going on. Because if you think about it, like as a Starfleet captain, this is what she has to do a lot when she's interacting with like alien races and stuff, right? You have to kind of quickly on the fly try and figure out the situation and act appropriately. And
I was
I
just
think
thinking that. I was just thinking that before you said it. I started thinking about it after what my comment was. I was like, well, but Janeway has to quickly adapt when she's visiting other planets and other alien races. And that's what makes her such a great captain and officer, is that she can do that. And in all fairness, I mean, I know I'm kind of, slamming some, I don't want to say I'm slamming some things. I'm just saying, some things that didn't work for me. But at the same time, it's been a long time since I've seen this episode, and I was never like a big fan of it, but I thought it was okay. But at the same time, when I was watching it today, I was doing it while I was working. So there were some distractions. So I really wasn't like fully invested in watching it. I was just I was in and out of it throughout, which really isn't fair to me or the episode. Ow, I got a cramp.
I will say this one thing that I noticed is Tom tells her he likes to be called sire. She never once calls him sire. Not once. She calls him your majesty or something like that. But I don't recall her ever saying the word sire to him.
Interesting.
Marge, it's not a great episode. It's just a good episode. In my opinion.
Oh,
you know what? To each their own. One man's trash is another man's treasure.
That's right.
But and the thing that's great about different opinions is that your opinion doesn't hurt anybody, and no one else's opinion hurts you. So we can all have a discussion and have differing opinions, and that makes our discussion more interesting.
Well, it does, especially when I know I'm always right, and that's why is that funny? Why is that funny? No,
If I have to explain it to you, you won't get the joke anyway. So,
well, here's the thing. I mean, and that's the thing. And again, I don't think this is a bad episode. I'm just saying the humor isn't as funny to me as it is to others. And there's always different degrees and types of humor that work for people. There's stuff that I think is hilarious. And my wife is like, I really don't see how that's funny. And then there's something she likes to watch that's funny. I'm just like, it's okay. It's like the novel that Dan and I reviewed. How much was it?
how much for the planet?
How
much for just the planet?
Just the planet. I knew I was missing a word in there. How much for just the planet? Dan really liked it. And I was just like, that humor didn't work for me. So it just all depends on the type of humor. But I didn't think it was a bad episode or a badly written episode. I'm just saying the things that I would have liked in the episode that would have made it funnier for me. That's all.
Yeah.
That's fine.
No, yeah, absolutely. And
I know I'm right.
And Brandi, to your point, like, that's absolutely a good point. We're all entitled to our own opinions. And, I think you should be in charge of like debate on the internet personally. But all of that said, Aaron Harvey, no, it's a great episode. Sorry, I'm just kidding.
No, you're wrong, Bruce. It's a great episode. So there.
Exactly.
But would you put in your top 5 Voyager episodes? Or 10? Like, I want to figure out how great we're saying.
Ooh.
I can't even pick a top 5 Voyager episodes because, to be honest, I haven't seen most of them in 20 or more years, which is why I am going to rewatch Voyager along with the Delta Flyers podcast.
Yes.
Nice. Yes, absolutely. Looking forward to that.
Oh,
for sure.
Aaron said yes, probably. Okay, that's good. That's kind of what I wanted to know from him too. So, okay.
Yeah, I don't know about top 5. I can't off the top of my head think of them right now. Probably if there's 10 episodes, I'd say maybe yes. Which is funny because, yeah, like I know I've brought this up a million times a few years ago. Absolutely not. But I've definitely changed my mind on that for sure.
I don't know why that the TJ's and Boney Schwartz last comment really speaks to me.
Oh, there we go. Yep. Yep. Not much more needs to be said about that, really. So another thing that I wanted to talk about is the performance of another character. And
yes, I've been waiting for this. Thank you.
Yes, Robert Picardo, or the Doctor, I should say, giving an unimpeachable performance as the president of Earth.
When he said that, he said, my performance was impeachable. Dave and I looked at each other and Dave went, it was so funny.
Because at the time, it was funny for a different reason as well, because this is in the 90s, and there was another whole impeachment thing happening in your country down there at the time. So that was amusing, but maybe less amusing now and more, I don't know, something else. I'm just going to leave that alone. But yeah, the Doctor, not a huge part in this episode, which is odd given that it's about photonic life forms, but what he does have, I thought was really good. And
everything he does is gold in this episode.
Yeah.
Everything.
And I love that he's kind of like an ambassador basically to these new life forms. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's adorable, especially when he gets on the rocket ship and it's a button in that big button in the middle of that panel. Not that panel.
Yeah, I like that.
What did we think that button was? That's interesting. What was that going to do?
But something big.
Yeah, it turns off the coffee machine. They didn't want to upset Janeway.
Yeah,
I liked his little patch too.
Yeah,
his little Earth patch. I thought that was one thing. Like,
what?
I loved the glasses.
Mm-hmm.
It just made him look so 30s or 40s era. It was just there you go.
Oh man, you look like I don't know, like somebody about to write a scoop or something on a typewriter. especially with the black and white going on there. I kind of like it.
Right. I got a big story. I'll be in the papers tomorrow.
Oh, so whoops. Nope.
I'm not used to that.
Liam Smart says that Button was going to switch to Tom's other program.
Oh, his other fan fiction.
Uh-oh.
That would have been great. I would have loved to seen that happen.
Yeah. Oh, and Patrick says, Defender of the Earth, Scourge of Intergalactic Evil, and a competent medic to boot, but don't say I said. So that flies in the face what I was saying earlier, that he complains about Tom's incompetence. So
Oh, yeah, well, he has to complain about Tom's incompetence to Tom and anyone else who will listen.
Right.
But between people who are on the same level, you know, he tells the truth.
Extra dimensional life forms that will never get back to Tom. It's the only person he'll praise Tom to.
Yep.
Definitely. All right. So we're getting into the end game. And of course, we've got not end game the episode, but the end of this episode. We've got Janeway or Arachnia uncorking the pheromones. Excuse me.
I kept thinking of Orion girls, you know, their pheromones.
Yeah, kind of similar idea. But I love that, like, very cheesy, cartoony, like wafting over. And I love they're on the holodeck. It can do these things. And just like the twin streams going into Lonzak's nose.
Some more eye rolling from Janeway when he's like pledging his love, and she's just like, oh, yes, you'll have all of that and more once you help me escape. So yeah.
And that's the thing about this episode is, like, I'm rolling my eyes through the whole episode, but I'm enjoying rolling my eyes at stuff through the episode. Like, that's the kind of feeling I'm getting from this. And like, before we started in the chat, there was some debate as to whether the episode was cringe. And yeah, it's cringe, but it's fun cringe. Like, I'm enjoying that aspect of it.
Oh, there are several things that are critically and audience judged to be terrible that I still love. So, you know, just because it's bad doesn't mean it's not fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I didn't cringe.
I didn't cringe. I didn't even roll my eyes. Janeway was doing plenty of that for me. So.
Yeah, I didn't roll my eyes either.
Oh, I rolled my eyes a lot. But like I said, I'm enjoying it. You know, it's not, you know, anyway.
That robot, though, when they reprogrammed it.
Yes. I wanted to talk about the robot more, and I forgot about that.
That's me. I'm the robot.
You said robot.
My absolute favorite part, where he's like, intruder, and Tom like baps him in the face. Quiet, intruder.
So great.
Oh, I was crying laughing at that.
So good. So good.
I
don't know who was in that suit, but I love them.
Right. That's what I kept thinking about. I'm like, I want to know who's in the suit. I think it would be really fun if we found out it was one of the regular cast members. So
interestingly, I was wondering this too, this last time watching it. Apparently, according to Suzanne Williamson, Ayala was the robot. So Ayala is like a regular background actor on Voyager. He's in, like, what's his name? Tarek Ergen, I think, or something like that. I'm going to look that up because that's really cool. But yeah, he's in just about every episode of Voyager. So that makes sense. Like, if he's a regular background actor, that's who you'd put in there. But yeah, like all the times, and I really noticed him this time, like, you know, whenever they're doing something and he just kind of keeps nudging in and like grabbing their arm and like just
and they're like
really annoying.
It's like, you know, a cat trying to get attention. You're like, stop it, go away.
I'm gonna look that up.
Adorable.
While you guys talk.
Wouldn't it have been funny if it was somebody from one of the other Star Trek series?
Yes.
And it was a just trivial thing, like, Jonathan Frakes was the robot in that episode.
That is exactly the person I was thinking should have
Really?
been in that suit. Yes. That is the first person I thought of.
That would have been
So
funny.
yeah, it was Tarek Ergen who was in the robot. So that's awesome.
They could have used Robert Beltran because he didn't have anything else to do in this episode.
Yeah, he sits in a chair and looks at a screen and laughs at Seven rolling her eyes. And that's pretty much all he does in this episode.
Didn't some of the people behind the scenes have issues with him because he was very outspoken? The actor Robert Beltran, wasn't he kind of? And they,
I know he was outspoken after the series was over.
Okay. I thought I heard that they were writing less for the Chakotay character because of him. I don't know. Maybe that's not true. Whatever.
I don't know.
But if that were true, I think it would have been fun if they were like, "You're going to be in this episode more than you thought you were going to be. You wanted more to do. You're the robot."
Yeah. See, that wouldn't have worked though, because he would have spent the whole time just like leaning on a console in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. And if it
would have had no dialogue.
And good thing it wasn't Jonathan Frakes, because the robot been propping his leg up on things.
Be straddling chairs all over the place.
I would love to see him try in that costume. But yeah, so it was Tarek Ergen in the costume. He's not who did the voice, though. According to the Memory Alpha, that was the very prolific actor known as Unknown Performer, who has played many roles over the years.
So many.
I bet it was Brian Fuller. I'm willing to bet you $5 on that.
So yeah, Brian Fuller, interestingly, did the story and co-wrote the teleplay for this episode as well. So, if we were wondering what Discovery was going to be like before he left, maybe it would have just been a lot like this.
Oh, great. Just kidding.
So we've got the amazing Captain Proton firing his Destructo beam at the Death Ray and killing Dr. Chaotica in the process. And again, I'm just calling out the acting here, which is ridiculously over the top and terrific. I'm loving all of this at this point.
Yeah, that was really the way it was in those old serials. It was so over the top. Just ridiculous.
Yes.
And they really caught that. No, that's not what I meant to say. I'm having trouble with words today, guys. They captured that in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
All of the tropes and subtleties of the art form of the movie serial. Yeah. Subtleties.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'm loving his monologuing and stuff as well. Like after he's supposedly dead, he's like, "Death as you know it has no hold on me." All that stuff.
Oh, he's a vampire?
Is he?
What? No, that was the first thing I thought. I was like, "Death as you know it has no hold over me." So he's undead? Because
no, he just has abilities that you puny normal humans don't have. He's that amazing. He's Dr. Chaotica. He's invincible.
Yeah, but he's dead. So if he can come back from death, doesn't that make him undead?
But is he dead?
He looked pretty dead. He wasn't breathing.
The end.
I know. I've seen that before in those damn serials. I have.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Absolutely. Now, Bruce and I were talking about this before we started the show. This was the third episode with Captain Proton featured. And I think I could be wrong, but like the last one where it was a part of the story until the episode Shattered, where they kind of revisit this when Voyager split into different time periods, which makes no sense. But anyway, and they revisit this and we see Dr. Chaotica and that sort of thing. So like it does seem, did Tom delete this program and stop using it after this point or not?
I
I'm
don't
going
know.
to say he didn't delete it.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying he didn't go back to it. He just didn't go back to it with anyone else.
Right.
Just
I like
saying.
that.
All right.
Yes.
That's my theory.
I agree.
Fair enough. Now, interestingly, in that episode, Shattered, which is in season 7, when Chakotay and past Janeway go on the holodeck, Chaotica recognizes Janeway as Arachnia. So, did Chaotica actually come back from the dead in the program? Maybe.
Or was it just a different chapter?
Yeah, because he jumps around chapters, right?
Could be, but I'm just saying I'm going on the very flimsy evidence that he recognized Janeway as Arachnia.
Why not?
So it has
Why
to
not?
take place after. I don't.
I guess
Sure.
so. Yeah, I would assume so.
Yeah, let's say that. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm getting the sense that you guys are kind of out of stuff to talk about, so we'll.
I don't really know what else to talk about.
Yeah, there isn't a whole lot of anything else going on in this episode. I mean,
That's
we
what I was
don't
telling
really,
Dan before the show.
we
Mhm.
don't really get any much insight into the photonic beings, other than
Mhm.
they can be killed by photonic weapons.
I'm glad
So-
you said that because I was wondering, like, when they said what 56 or 54 of them had died.
I think
or whatever?
53, something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, I was
Mhm.
kind
a
of
lot of them have been
surprised.
killed. Well,
Yeah.
when the what was it? It was ray gun ray, whatever it was that hit one of the guys, and there was this scream as he kind of disappeared. I'm like, oh, that guy's dead. That
Mhm.
guy's super dead.
Yeah, I was surprised by that because I thought, wait, this is a holodeck. How could that happen?
Yeah.
Of course, now we
And-
know.
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
So I get this from a lot of people. Shattered is one of their favorite Voyager episodes. That's interesting. I am not a fan of that episode, but
Oh, I
that
think it's
may be-
hilarious.
I could not tell you anything about
discussion
it.
for another time.
I got
You're
nothing.
entitled to your opinion.
Mhm. But we're not talking about Shattered in this episode. So
Well, we might next week. It depends what everybody votes on.
maybe.
It depends how quickly people can type when we ask for the first 4 people to bring up an episode or movie.
Which we're not doing yet, are we?
No, we're not.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So I like this comment as well. Can we have a little love for Tuvok's Vulcan snark in this episode? They say Vulcans have no sense of humor. It's just dry, like their planet.
As Michael Burnham said, we don't do funny. Obviously they do. But what I love when Tuvok and Tom come to the holodeck and, Tom's trying to talk to the aliens and Tuvok just pushes him aside and starts being the diplomat and approaching it logically. And I thought, yep, it's really good you did that because Tom would have really buggered that whole thing up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because a diplomat, Tom is not.
No, is one of the things that he is not good at.
That's the one thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe that
No.
and humility.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's one thing I noticed in this episode was all the characters saying "excuse me" when Tom says something, like, or Harry to Seven, like his Fortress of Doom, and Seven, "excuse me," and then Tuvok also, I think in that scene, what I forget what Paris says, but he's like, "excuse me."
I could have named the episode. Excuse me.
But yeah, we didn't get much Tuvok either, but what we did have was gold again.
Satan's robot, naturally. Yeah, absolutely. And then, yeah, that would, oh, whoops. See, the comments jump and then I don't click the right one. Oztrek, he says when Tuvok says stop when Tom reads the telegram.
Yes,
That was good.
that did make me laugh out loud. Oh.
Stop. Summarize, please. Yeah, that was excellent. So yeah, I guess we don't usually do this, but let's give this a rating out of, let's say 10. So you guys in the comments as well, and the two of you also, if you had to give this a rating out of 10, what would you say? And maybe your final thoughts on the episode as well.
Well, for me, I mean, I've said it before. It's like, I don't know. I thought the story was okay. I thought it was kind of interesting. I like the whole thing about the aliens, and I liked it all having on the holodeck, and the humor just really what doesn't work that well for me. Like there's times I grin or whatever, but I just didn't think it was all that funny, and I wish I would have felt that it was funnier. So a decent storyline, some light humor, just didn't stand out to me. I would give it 6 coffees black out of 10. Oh, look. Yes, just like that. 6 out of 10.
So I'll cycle through a few commenters' ratings here while we're speaking as well.
Okay, is it my turn?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, as I said in the opening, I enjoy this episode very much. I think it's funny. It has some just really subtle things and also really in your face things. And in the great scheme of things, this episode means nothing. It doesn't contribute to character development in any way. It doesn't really contribute to any stories going on with them trying to get home. It's kind of a throwaway episode, but that does not mean that it's not fun. So I would give it 7 Satan's robots out of 10.
Nice. Yeah, I enjoy it. I really didn't when I was young, as I've said, but I think as I've grown older, I've appreciated on different levels. I think as a kid, maybe I was looking at it too much through the eyes of the characters and thinking this episode made them look ridiculous, and they're my Starfleet heroes. They're supposed to be, not flustered by this sort of thing, not degrading themselves by doing this silly stuff. But as I've grown older, I'm kind of seeing it more as the actors and just really given a script and something interesting to do. Whether those actors enjoyed doing it or not, I honestly don't know. Like, I kind of wonder, did they think this was too ridiculous and too silly, or were they just having a heck of a lot of fun with it? I don't know the answer to that. I like to think that they were having a lot of fun with it, but I see it more as like, them chewing some scenery and doing some fun stuff, which I've got to think, has got to be something interesting and fun and out of the norm. So yeah, I really enjoy this one. I'm not as big a fan of Voyager as I am of other series. So while I think it is kind of maybe in the top 10 of Voyager episodes, I would still only give it, I'd say, about an 8 out of 10, which is still a pretty good rating. I'd say 8 out of 10 damaged vacuum tubes out of Satan's robot's chest, which is meant to be a good rating, I swear. Yeah.
Brandi was saying something about the episode and it's, does it connect to a lot of things? Does it build character? But, now I'm thinking about when you were saying that, Brandi, I thought if you're watching, microphone. If you're watching the whole season play out, I don't know exactly what episodes come right before this and after. I'm sure Dan does, but but if they're kind of heavy and intense and there's a lot of dramatic episodes and not a lot of fun, this would be a nice break and some levity into the season. I would think it would be really nice to hit something like this after some heavy episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the episode before it, and I only know this because I just happened to glance at it.
Here we go.
I only know this because I happened to glance at it on the Netflix list of episodes as I was playing it today. I would not be able to tell you this normally. Was Latent Image, which was one of my favorite episodes again as well, though, which was about the Doctor having to choose between saving Harry Kim's life and saving another ensign's life, and they both had an exact equal chance of pulling through. and he ended up saving Harry Kim's life, which caused a conflict in his program because he's like, why did I choose Harry? Is it because he's my friend? That's not how I'm supposed to make decisions. And like this all happened like a year ago, so they had to delete that from his memory, and he kind of starts finding out about it. It's a really good episode. I really like that one.
I don't need to watch it because you just told me the whole thing. No, I'm kidding. I bet. I think after then, this episode is Gravity.
Ooh, I like that episode too.
I looked it up. I cheated.
Yeah.
But I remember liking that episode too of Gravity. Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool.
There was a comment. Oh yeah, another Tuvok line here. He's been attacking the aliens with his death ray. It's a shame we don't have one. Tuvok's great.
He is.
So I guess all that's left then is to say the doors are now open. The first 4 episodes / films that you guys comment, we will choose from to talk about in the next episode of the Unready Room. So we are anxious. Oh,
not so
oh my God.
I love it.
So
yes.
The Andorian incident. Ooh! Unification and duet.
So we got Beyond Chain of Command, Sub Rosa, and The Sound of Her Voice. Wow.
Wow, there's a lot.
If only the Andorian incident had gotten in.
I know. Oh man, and duet, that would have been great. People were ready.
Yes.
They were like poised over their keyboards. Going, I'm just waiting for it.
Maybe next time we say the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th get it.
Do you like radio shows like caller number 15 or something?
There you go.
So yeah, we've got Chris Hill nominating Star Trek Beyond, Pastor Andy saying Chain of Command, so that would be part 1 and part 2. Suzanne Williamson with Sub Rosa, thanks for that. And Aaron Harvey with The Sound of Her Voice. Interesting choice there. I like that. Okay. So yeah, I will put out a tweet, and I think to change things up this time and just to promote a different Twitter account, I'm going to put it up on the @PositivelyTrek Twitter account. I will be tweeting up to poll of these 4 episodes, and go there. So @PositivelyTrek. Vote on your favorite and share with a friend, retweet it, share it around. Let's get lots of people watching. And by the way, shout out to everyone who takes the time to join the chat and to watch these videos live. I know it's tough for some. I saw a comment from someone the other day saying that they have to show up at 3 a.m. their time to be able to make it, but that they were still going to do it and blame me for it. So I can take it. Absolutely. I appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time, even when it's completely inconvenient for you. I know we've got people watching from all around the world, so I really appreciate that. Thanks so much.
So Dan, why don't we do an episode at 3 a.m. your time?
No, that's also 3 a.m. mine time, and I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I would rather not, but if the people demand it.
Please don't demand it. Please. I already have to get up too early in the morning for work. Please don't make me get up at 3 a.m. Actually, I wouldn't even be getting up at 3 a.m. I'd have to be ready at 3 a.m., which means getting up and taking a shower and actually drying my hair and crap. You guys do not want to know what this looks like without makeup.
And he did make it, so that's awesome. This is the gentleman, Neil Crawford, who commented. So he made it. Thank you so much for joining us, and you can absolutely blame me. I can take it.
Well, Mossy G says it's 3 a.m. for him too. Huh?
I saw that too. That's awesome.
So
dedicated. I love that. You guys are awesome.
So
really
I got
that means he's up at 2 a.m. because we started at 7 our time.
That's
and if
true.
it's 3 a.m. now then yeah, he's been up since 2. So.
Oh man, Chris Hill says I was on my way home from work when y'all started, so I just had the sounds piped through my car. Oh man, I love you guys.
I'm so sorry you had to listen to me in your car.
Same. My voice is still weird and scratchy, so.
So I guess we have people in from what, Great Britain and Ireland or something right now. It's
Yep.
3 a.m. So
Wow. Well, we really appreciate it. Thanks so much. So, yeah, if you guys want to tell people where you can be found when you're not talking about Bride of Chaotica. Brandi?
Oh, places, things. I do things and I'm places. Sorry. I was
Cool.
thinking of
Bruce?
something
No, I'm just kidding.
completely different. Twitter, Brandywine12. The Edge main show on Trek FM, talking about Discovery. We're recording another episode tomorrow, and it's going to be interesting. And I really loved our last episode where we created our own ship and crew to fight in the Klingon War and cover the stuff that didn't get covered while they were in the Mirror Universe. So, yep, we're doing that. Not all the weeks in a row, but also someday, Bruce, you and I may return to Live from the Edge.
yes,
maybe someday.
Maybe one day.
And yeah, and then Dark Corner Podcast with my husband Dave. And you can find that at darkcornerpodcast.com. And also at darkcornerpodcast.com, you can find my solo podcast, Headcanon, which I finally put out a new episode for after a lot of technical difficulties, etc. And I'm going to record another one this weekend.
And you have a new logo for it.
Yeah,
No,
I saw that.
No, that is the same logo I have always had
Oh,
for Headcanon.
Okay.
Yeah.
oh.
That's what goes out on the show art.
Oh, it's a gorgeous logo.
Thank you. It was created by my friend Chris Bodley. You can find his work at Hat Robot on Instagram or society6.com. And I adore him in so many ways. He's a great friend and a great artist. And I did compensate him monetarily for doing that work for me because I am a person who appreciates art.
Nice.
And yeah, that's pretty much all. And sometimes lurking in the Babel conference and stuff, having long comment discussions about stuff that happened in Discovery because somebody had never watched it and it's like had some misconceptions. Like, oh no, let me set you straight. He's like, oh, okay, that sounds better. Richard, I'm talking to you.
Richard.
Yeah.
Speaking of.
Yeah. Your turn, Richard.
Richard, thank you. Yes. Where am I? Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah, I do the Positively Trek show with Dan. I do Star Wars Report occasionally. I'm not on as much, but I more than likely will be on this next week because it's May the 4th, and we're doing a live show on May the. No, that's not 6th. We're doing on May the 5th, Tuesday night. I don't know really what's going on. Something with Revenge of the Sith. It's on Twitter. I don't know. Just go to Star Wars.
You're Revenge of the 5th?
Revenge of the 5th. That's it. I don't know what we're doing. It's like not it's a live show, but on Twitter, no video. We're just tweeting. I don't know. Just go to follow Star Wars Report if you're on Twitter or whatever, if you want to know what's happening on there. And oh, by the way, Literary Treks. Yeah, take a drink.
Good. I'm thirsty.
So I'm on that show with Dan, the official Star Trek books and comics podcast of the Trek FM network. Last night we just recorded for the first original adult Kelvin timeline novel called The Unsettling Stars, and we had the author Alan Dean Foster on the show. So that's coming out not this Sunday, but next Sunday, whatever that date, May 10th. Isn't that yes, May 10th, I think is that.
Yep, that's correct.
Yep.
So that's coming out with Alan Dean Foster. It's the first time we've had him on the show. If you remember, maybe Aaron Harvey remembers this, that Alan Dean Foster wrote the log books for the animated series. So he made novelizations of the animated series back in the 70s. He wrote the story that was used for the motion picture. And we talk a little bit about that at the end, about how much of his story was actually used in the motion picture. And he wrote the novelizations.
Oh, Hollywood.
And he wrote the novelization for Star Trek 09 and Star Trek Into Darkness.
We mentioned the animated series, so even if Aaron Harvey wasn't actually in the chat here, he'd be like, "What?
Squirrel." We love you, Aaron.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's times I'm just sitting at home and I say something about the animated series and I look around the room thinking Aaron might just show up.
What?
which would be fun. But
that'd be great.
If only mentioning the animated series would summon him to your side.
It's like his personal bat signal. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, and on Literary Treks, because in the earlier in the episode, in the early part of the episode, I was talking about the unsettling stars, and then when we brought Alan on, I said he wrote this new book called The Settling Stars. He's like, it's the unsettling stars. I'm like, no, he goes, that's not the title. I was like, wait, did I say settling instead of yeah, I was like, oh, sorry. But yeah, that's coming out. So yeah, I'm on Twitter at Admiral_Rex.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Oh, man.
Yeah, I've had some good laughs tonight, y'all.
Yeah.
And I sure needed them.
This is so much fun. This is such a relief from all of the crap going on right now. So,
and speaking of crap, my office. Speaking of crap, my office texted me while we were doing the live show saying, "Are you available to have a quick call right now? If not, don't worry about it." I said, "I can't do it right now. I'm doing a live show, but you all are more than welcome to tune in." And they said, "No, thanks. You're okay."
Yeah.
Oh,
it's 10 o'clock my time, and they're still texting me.
Oh,
I know that feeling, unfortunately.
Aw. Well, when I'm not with these wonderful people talking about this thing that we love so much, you can find me like Bruce on Literary Treks and Positively Trek, and wherever Bruce is going now. I don't know where he's off to. And my website, treklit.com. And of course, this YouTube channel. Give this video a like. Tell people, tell your friends. We want to talk about Star Trek in a positive way. When you mention Star Trek and YouTube, everyone thinks of like those negative channels that bash Star Trek, like Midnight's Edge and other people that I'm not going to give airtime to. But, we want to make it a positive thing and really be like an island of positivity on YouTube for Star Trek. I'm not the only one. There are other positive YouTube channels out there. Absolutely. But I want to be a part of that group as well. So share this video, share other videos, tell your friends to join us. And all right. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.